of all, no one's going to ask you for money today. You should get applause, don't you? This is really an event about awareness. And I think that Staci is the perfect metaphor, because Staci knows many of you in this room, and I doubt that any of you have any concept about her visual disability. So, in the same way, I don't think many of you know about the Deborah's Eye Institute. I don't know if many of you appreciate what a gift vision is, or what vision research can do. So, without further ado, I'm going to let Staci, who's very bravely and courageously agreed to come up and tell you a little bit about her life.
Hi. First of all, I want to thank Jim Rosenbaum for hosting today's event. He's always been a huge advocate in my fight against blindness. And an on-demand resource for my frequent medical questions. I can't thank you enough for all your support. So in 2009, I was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa, or RP, which is a rare degenerative disease that severely impairs my vision, and it eventually will cause me to go blind. My first sign of eye trouble began when I was 9 years old. An annual eye exam revealed that I was nearsighted, an easy fix, eyeglasses. The problem reemerged when I was a freshman at the University of Miami. My eyesight seemed to be deteriorating. I assumed it was time for a new prescription. I was wrong. After seeing several different eye doctors, I was finally diagnosed with pars planitis, an inflammatory disease of the retina in my left eye. The ophthalmologist I was seeing in Miami at Baskin Palmer recommended that I get a series of shots in my eye to take the inflammation down. Unfortunately, the treatments weren't working. By the time I was a senior in college, my vision was 2200. I was legally blind. The next step was a vitrectomy. Following my surgery, my sight improved. However, about 8 months later, I developed a cataract, a common complication from the vitrectomy, and underwent a successful cataract surgery. Not long after my left eye had healed, I developed the same problem in my right eye. Once again, I had to have a vitrectomy followed by another successful cataract surgery. For the next few years, my eyes were fairly stable. My husband and I were living in LA, and after the birth of my second son, I started to notice a change in my eyesight, particularly in my peripheral vision, my night vision, and my depth perception. I met with many different eye doctors and specialists, but to no avail. My frustrating journey continued. I was desperate for answers until a well-respected LA ophthalmologist, Dr. Ralph Levinson, took the lead in my case and suggested that I undergo another series of testing that would eventually diagnose me with retinitis pigmentosa. The good news, I had a name for my disease. The bad news, there's no cure. To get a better understanding of what it's like living with RP, I would like each of you to get out of your seat and walk a couple steps. Just stand up and just kind of shift over from your seat a little bit. Walk away. Put your hands around your eyes like this, kind of like tunnel vision, and try to find your seat.
Yeah. Sit down, bro.
Imagine trying to get around that way every day without your peripheral vision. It's not easy. I'm a walking klutz starring in my own comedy show. I want to share a couple of embarrassing scenarios I face all the time. I constantly bump into racks in clothing stores and catch myself saying, "Excuse me," to poles. When I'm out with my younger son, I'm always panicking I've lost him. Since holding an 8-year-old's hand is no longer deemed cool in public, I frantically yell out his name looking for him. He usually responds with an annoyed voice, letting me know that he's right beside me. When a waiter in a restaurant tries to give me a menu from behind, I don't notice it. Instead of taking the menu, I sit there looking foolish until someone calls my name or the waiter politely says to me, "Ma'am, here's your menu." A few months ago, I took my oldest son to the Broadway show Wicked. After intermission, we had to scoot in the middle of the row to find our seats. course, I couldn't see where I was going, and I sat on a woman's lap. Another awkward situation is when someone reaches out to shake my hand. Since the placement of their hand is below my line of vision, I don't see it, so we both stand there looking ridiculous and embarrassed. I have to rely on my husband, Eric, my friends, and my family members to help me get around, especially at night. Despite all of my challenges, I refuse to give up my 7-inch designer heels. I'm entirely dependent on the arm of the person next to me so I don't trip over ditches, curbs, cracks, or dark staircases. Nighttime driving is out of the question. I'm forever indebted to Uber for giving me the freedom to get places in the evening without relying on others to take me. At some point, I may go blind. When? I don't know. It could happen tomorrow, or if I'm lucky, not for many years. I'm reminded daily that I live with an incurable disease that will steal my vision indefinitely. Only time will tell how much longer I have. What I do know is that I woke up this morning and I saw my beautiful kids' faces. I can still see all of life's miracles that shine every day, assuming it's not standing in my peripheral vision. RP is a hereditary disease. It's unclear which of my family members before me had it. Unless we find a cure, my children or my future grandchildren have a high risk of inheriting it. I want to close with a well-known quote that sums up the disease. Living with RP is being able to see a pencil on the other side of the room, but tripping over an elephant on the way to pick it up. Thank you.
So that was very brave. And almost no one, I think, in your family has any idea about what you've confronted and what you deal with. So thank you very, very much. I want to tell you just a little bit about the Devers Eye Institute because it relates to Staci. So the Devers was founded, I think, in 1959. Arthur Devers gave money so that the indigent in the Pacific Northwest would have eye care, and that initial $1 million is now $25 million. And about 40% is so we can provide indigent care, and the rest goes for research. And as a research institute, we have been phenomenally successful. So I believe that we are the #1 place in the world for corneal transplant. And I can say that because people come from all over the world to receive corneal transplants. I also think that we are the #1 place in the world for glaucoma research. So today is March 1, and tomorrow the American Glaucoma Society in San Diego will award its Clinician Scholar Award. They pick one glaucoma scientist per year, and that will be Claude Burgoyne from the Devers Eye Institute. And then on March 6th, a group called AVER, which is the Alliance for Eye and Vision Research, they will have a congressional hearing. AVER represents 55 different organizations for eye and vision care. And they picked one individual to talk to Congress and explain to them the importance of glaucoma research. And that's Steve Mansberger, who's also a member of the Devers Eye Institute. And I'd also like to believe that in uveitis, we're the best. We've only recently hired retina specialists to take care of the kinds of diseases that affect Staci. Liz Werner-Kroll is our first. She's here. And our other expert, Sergei Pasadia, couldn't make it. But Staci started her story in 2009, so it's just been 6 years. Literally, in that 6 years, we now have a better than 50-50 chance of identifying biochemically why Staci's vision is different from Eric's vision. Okay? So retinitis pigmentosa is not a single disease. It's a group of different diseases. And so it behaves differently at different paces and affects sometimes autosomal dominantly, sometimes recessive. But biochemically, Staci gave blood on Friday so that we could literally check for 50 different specific possible causes. It's not 100%, it doesn't cover everything, but we have some chance. One of the first diseases like this is called Leber's, and in that one, the biochemical defect is known. And while I say it teasingly, I'm only teasing a little bit, the eye is made for gene therapy. So gene therapy for lots of diseases, say something like cystic fibrosis, is a huge challenge because it's hard to deliver the gene throughout the body. But the eye is a semi-closed chamber, and so in something like this form of retinitis pigmentosa Leber's, the gene can be given directly into the eye, and you can go on YouTube and see videos of people who can't walk a maze, who have the same kinds of difficulties that you describe, whose visual function is improved. So Obama talks about personalized medicine, and it's exactly this possibility that you will never lose your vision. That is, within the next decade or two, we will, if not in the next couple of weeks, know biochemically what's going on, which means that we can find the gene, which means that we can put it into a so-called viral vector. And, you know, while there are risks to this and it's still in the experimental phase, there's a chance, Staci, that, you know, with further research, your vision can be maintained. So that's really all I wanted to say. I think Rena Whitaker from the Good Sam Foundation wanted to say a word or two as well. But again, thank you all for coming. You know, the other day, of course, that dress of multicolors captivated all of us in the news, and that was just about color vision. And you can imagine if we're all so interested and fascinated with color vision, just how important eyesight really is to each of us. So thank you.
Hello, I'm Rena Whitaker, and I run Good Sam Foundation. I'm here with my crew, John and Louise and Hillary, and we work at the foundation at Good Sam, really working in development and learning more about programs and services and how we come up with grants and other things. Not asking you for money today. But what I do want to tell you is we feel so grateful to be able to work in support of the work of the amazing individuals and healers, really, at Devers Eye Institute. Under Dr. Rosamond's leadership, working with Dr. Mark Terry, who does cornea transplants, working with Dr. Mansberger, who's a glaucoma expert, Dr. Burgoyne, all these folks who just really are dedicated to making sure that you have sight. Staci, thank you so much for coming up here and sharing your story. It is hard for a lot of people to understand what it's like to not have your entire vision. And we applaud you for that daily courage you have every day. We get to hear stories about the research that's being done where people have not been able to have sight and get a transplant, a cornea transplant, and they can see their family for the first time in years. So the work that is done at Devers is precious work. And I would love to invite you to see firsthand with a tour of our Legacy Research Institute. It's at Holiday Park. That's where we have Discoveries in Sight. Come see some of the work that we're doing at Devers. It's amazing to see how they can actually go into the eye and see virtually how it's sliced and how the eye works and how they can bring some of those things that may be dying in the eye and bring them back to life. I mean, it's brilliant work, and it's internationally renowned work. Devers Eye Institute is recognized. In fact, our doctors travel all over the world to speak to different countries and consult on eye cases that no one else can help with. So, thank you for your time today. There's lots of food. Please take it home. As an Italian mom, I've got to tell you, just take it home.
The only other thing is that about 80% of people here are either a Rosenbaum, a Reiter, or a Goodson.
We're going to go picture.
So we'd like to have everybody up front for one photograph from closure.
Yes. So so in just a few minutes, we're going to have everyone stack up here, and we won't make you take off your heels. We're kind of be in the middle range, right? There is information on that back table about the full Who Make a Difference at Deborah's Eye Institute, and some great information in the newsletter here. So thank you for coming today. And thank you, Dr. Rosenbaum, and thank you, Stacy. We really appreciate it.